Welcome, everyone. You're listening to the Aging and Spirituality podcast, and we have an amazing episode for you today. I'm Kathy Lee Taylor. This is my podcast partner,
Chris Jensen.
And we are so excited today because we have somebody who is near and dear to my heart. And full disclosure, I am a patient of Dr. Hoefer's. So I am going to tell you just a little bit first to begin. Short bio on her, because honestly, the bio could take a long time. So if you really want to know more about Dr. Hoefer, I'm going to put in the show notes a link to her website, which is wellconnectedchiro.com. And you can go to the About section and be blown away by all of her accomplishments. But just up front, this beautiful woman here is Dr. Elizabeth Hoefer, and she earned her Doctor of Chiropractic degree at the Palmer College of Chiropractic in Davenport, Iowa. She is also an adjunct faculty member at the Southern California University of Health Sciences, which means she's training current chiropractic students in her office, which is something that I understand she loves to do. And I've met some of her people that have come in and been trained by there, and it's a big love fest going on over there. So it's a really nice thing that she's got set up, because she's training these doctors in this modality, which quite honestly, I've studied a lot of alternative treatments, and I think what Dr. Hoefer does is one of the most exciting treatments, natural treatments that we have available to us. Hence why we're going to talk to her today. So Dr. Hoefer, without going on forever, let's just say that she also has a lovely husband and 3 gorgeous kids. She lives here in Orange County. Her practice is in Mission Viejo. So if you're local, you want to go to her website. Again, I'll put those links in the show notes, and we're going to get started. So here we go. Let's begin at the beginning, which is, why did you pick being a chiropractor to begin with, and how did that get you into the Blair Technique?
That is an awesome question. First of all, thank you, ladies, for having me. I am so excited. We've been looking forward to this conversation for quite a while, and it's always such a thrill to be able to come on and talk about the thing that I'm really passionate about. And when you ask that question, it just brings me back, and it almost brings me to tears, because my life is so incredibly better because of chiropractic. And I don't say that I found chiropractic. I say that it found me. And the reason why I say that is because I grew up in Davenport, Iowa, which is where chiropractic was founded in 1895. So I grew up under chiropractic care. It never occurred to me that I should become a chiropractor until I got a part-time job working at the college. My mom kind of took pity on me, snuck my application in before there was things called electronic applications. And I got the job on my own right, but it was a part-time job till I figured out what I wanted to do with my life. And I just did it because I had a daughter, and I knew that I needed to have something to take care of her. And working at the mall and working at fast food jobs wasn't going to cut it. I knew that I had to do something different. So when I started working at the college, I was privy to watching these student doctors come in with patients from the community, and they would come in hurting, and 20 minutes later, they would walk out feeling better. And I'm like, this is incredible. Like, I want to be a part of that. So thankfully, at the college, there was an associate program, and I started taking classes in the associate program, which meant that I was going to become a chiropractic technologist. And you can kind of liken that to a nurse for a medical doctor. So a chiropractic technologist takes x-rays, they do the billing, they help facilitate stuff for the patients in the clinic, they help the doctor. And at that time, I was 22 years old. I was a single mom. Wow. And I didn't have much confidence that I could do much more than that. But I knew that if I was interested in this and I could be a help to somebody, it would be a meaningful, impactful career. So I enrolled and I started classes, and I still kept working. And about halfway through that program, I actually started to wonder if I would be satisfied just being the assistant, because I had so many questions. Once you start learning about the human body and how incredible it is, and what chiropractic can do to facilitate healing, it just draws you in. So I quickly realized that I didn't want to be the assistant the rest of my life. And I started working towards becoming a doctor of chiropractic. And that led me to, taking bachelor classes, and I ended up getting my bachelor's degree. So I actually earned 3 degrees from Palmer while I was there. And in 2008, I was able to graduate as a doctor of chiropractic. And during my journey of chiropractic college, where I was studying to be a doctor, I was introduced to the Blair Technique because I personally was suffering. I grew up in a very tumultuous situation. I have had more adverse childhood events than probably anybody could write down.
Yeah.
And it really impacted my mental health. And I was struggling significantly with depression, anxiety, suicidal ideology. But the one thing that kept me going was this desire to provide a better life for my daughter. So she's my angel on this planet, my Lauren. And I knew that I wanted to be present for her and that I wanted to do better for her. So I was introduced to the Blair Technique when I was about a year away from graduating from chiropractic school, really struggling, to be honest, still with a lot of mental health issues. And I subjected myself, just like every other person, to the student clinic. And I was very skeptical, to be honest with you. I didn't think that the one bone at the top of the neck called the atlas could actually make that big of a difference. Because remember, I grew up under chiropractic care. I got my neck cracked 3 times a week my whole life.
Wow.
And I wasn't getting better. And I said, you know what? I've tried it all, but I haven't tried that. And I can't speak crap about it if I haven't tried it. So I went in and I had the exam done. I had the images taken. And I'm telling you, October 27th, 2007, my life was changed forever for the good. I got corrected, and instantaneously my mind was healed. I had hope for the first time in my life. The colors in the room were brighter. The sounds were clearer. I got off the table and I was like, what just happened? Wow. And I knew in that instant that I had to spend the rest of my life studying it and teaching it and doing it, because it was that impactful. It literally changed my life.
Wow.
So since then, 16 years almost in October, since then I've had the opportunity to not only get trained, but then become the best student in the nation, get the Blair Scholarship, come to Orange County, California, and build this thriving practice and touch, thankfully, thousands of people. And now, as an advanced instructor for the Blair Society, I train other doctors, I train other chiropractors, and I've gone on to get my diplomate in the cranial cervical junction, which is all things head and neck. And now I'm considered a specialist, and I'm one of 60 in the entire world. And I'm the only female DCCJP advanced Blair instructor in the whole wide world.
Wow, congratulations.
That is so impressive, and what a beautiful story.
Awesome.
You know, like you, I grew up under conventional chiropractic care, and I'm very new to the idea of the Blair Technique. So could you explain to us how it's different than conventional chiropractic, and why would we choose it? Like, why would I choose to do that?
I love that question. And I just want to start by saying that conventional chiropractic is amazing. So I'm not going to say that what I do is better than other doctors, but what I do is more specific. And sometimes that's what people need. So the difference for the Blair upper cervical work is that we engineer the adjustment in the neck specific to the anatomy in the human frame for the person in front of me. So I take 3-dimensional x-rays of their neck with a x-ray machine called a cone beam CT. And thankfully I have that in my office. And I am able to engineer a correction that is as unique as a snowflake or a fingerprint. And we do adjustments that are in a side-lying neutral position. So there's never any twisting, any popping, any cracking of the neck. And my entire goal is to have to do the upper cervical correction one time. I want to adjust your neck one time and have it hold. Now, do you come in and get checked and I do other things? Absolutely. But the Blair correction, I want to do it once, because when you hold the adjustment in your neck and your brain and your body can communicate effectively, you start to heal from things you never thought were possible. And believe it or not, discs can heal and degeneration can go away. So why would somebody choose that? Maybe they've done the traditional chiropractic route, or they've gone to the medical doctor and they've said, there's nothing we can do. You just have to learn to live with this. I'm often the person's last resort. And then they're sad that they didn't meet me 10 years ago, because they get results that nobody else gets, and in a very short order. So it's a comprehensive neurological and structural evaluation of every single vertebra on the right and the left side at the joints, from C7 all the way to the skull. And it's a pretty incredible process to be a part of and to apply, because it's gentle, but it's very effective.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. My husband has some degenerative discs, so you think that would help him?
I have had a lot of success helping people that have degenerative discs. And another thing is if you've had neck surgery, so you've had spinal fusion or a laminectomy, or you have hardware, or you've had a disc replacement, truly upper cervical and Blair in specific are the only thing that can even touch that. A traditional chiropractor can't manipulate that. So when we say that we take really unique cases, I've got lots of hardware and necks coming into my office that are very, very happy that they can get some relief under the care that we provide.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
It is. Give us an example of a really, like your worst case scenario, like somebody just thought they're never going to get better, but you were able to help them. Just give us a crazy one.
Well, I have a lot of crazy ones, but the one that popped up, and I'm not kidding, like the one that just popped up is a woman that I've actually been taking care of for, it's almost 14 years. And she came in, she was a referral from her acupuncturist. And I have a lot of amazing paraprofessionals that I work with, medical doctors, acupuncturists, naturopaths, all kinds of, neurosurgeons. They refer their patients to me because they look like heroes when they send their people and they get well. And the neat thing is we can co-treat. Like anything I do doesn't take away what they do. It just enhances it, right? So the acupuncturist referred this gal over, and she was literally facing neurosurgery. She was debilitated. She could not function. She is a teacher and she teaches art, and it's very physical when you're doing clay and painting and all this stuff. And she was struggling. So she came to me as a last resort, and she was literally scheduled to go see the surgeon like 2 weeks later. And I said, just give me 8 weeks and let's see what we can do. And the reason why I say 8 weeks is because it takes 6 weeks for the neurology to be established and supported and restored. And I always give an extra 2 weeks just to have good measure to make sure that we've actually created meaningful change. So she said she'd give me 8 weeks because she was like, the last thing I want to do is get cut and get fused and be debilitated the rest of my life. Well, she never went to the surgeon. She's held her first correction.
Wow.
Since, oh my gosh, February of 2000 and not, so it's actually been 13 years, and she's had one upper cervical correction. She is now a competitive rower. She goes out on the ocean and she competes in these competitions with other women rowing boats on the ocean. She does weightlifting. She travels all over the world, and she doesn't have pain. She's completely functional. And her body looks better today than it did 13 years ago when I took her pictures. So that's like the coolest long-standing case that I have, but I want to share a really quick new one that I just started. Cool. Have you guys ever heard of a condition called trigeminal neuralgia or the suicide disease? So it is this debilitating pain that affects the trigeminal nerve, which is the sensory to your face. And people that get this condition will have had maybe a really bad dental procedure, or they've had trauma in their neck and they can't chew, they can't talk. Even the sensation of wind going across their skin lights up that nerve. Wow. And it is so debilitating that medical doctors really don't have an answer. They'll go in and they'll try to burn the nucleus that allows that nerve to create the pain, but it doesn't often work. And once you burn something, it's hard to come back from that. And they call it the suicide disease because it's so debilitating that people literally take their own life because the pain is overwhelming and they can't take it. Wow. So imagine the worst tooth pain you've ever had in your face nonstop for all the time. So I recently started a gentleman under care who had been suffering for about 7 years, and he was going down all these rabbit holes, and somehow he came across my website and he came in. And he had been everywhere and done everything and had the medication and done the consults for the burning and the surgery and all the things. And he came in to see me and he couldn't even talk. He literally brought his phone and he would type in what he wanted to say on a note and have me read it. His wife would translate a little bit because she could know what he was thinking, but he still had to get his words across and he just couldn't do it. He's only been under care for 3 weeks and he's literally out of pain. And he comes in the most incredibly kind and vibrant man and so grateful because the pain is gone, and nothing that he had done leading up to that for about 7 years had made any meaningful change. So there is so much power in the work that I do, and it's literally about getting the structure of your neck that surrounds that very important part of your body, which is known as the brainstem, to articulate or join up with the skull. And we literally say, we're going to get your head on straight, because we want to make sure that your head sits over your spine the way that it's supposed to. And the messages from your brain can communicate out into your body, and the messages from your body can communicate to your brain. That's as simple as it is, but it can cause all manner of problems. So we're pretty blessed. I literally see miracles every day. I've seen deaf people hear, blind people see, people that were in wheelchairs get up and walk out of my office. There were babies that were stuck like this for months, one adjustment, their heads went straight. I mean, it's so incredible. And I guess I'm frustrated for the two people that I can't help, right? Like maybe they've already had surgery and there's nothing I can do because stuff is missing, or, you know, they leave here and they go out and do 58 things that I told them not to do and they don't hold. It's those cases that get me. It's the miracles every day that it's like, this is normal. So
that's such
so one question, you mentioned the person that had 13 years ago, the adjustment and held. Now, if someone came to you, do they have to keep coming for adjustments?
Yeah. And so that's a common thing, right? Like people say, well, once you go to a chiropractor, you have to go the rest of your life. Do you want to keep feeling great? Why wouldn't you want to, right? Do you have
She's
to
my
eat?
best friend. I'm going on.
If you stopped drinking water, would you not die? Like it's not, we're not trying to be salesy. We're just we're explaining that, like, just like diet and exercise and you know, eating food, it sustains your body. And imagine, like, with the car, like you got your car, you bought it brand new, but you never took it for an oil change. Eventually the engine would blow up, right? So the same thing happens with this amazing body that we have. We have to have tune-ups. We have to make sure that every system is functioning. And the thing that makes sure that that's happening is your nervous system. And that's truly what I am. I am a detective for the nervous system. And I want to make sure that that's functioning on all cylinders. And I happen to use the spine as my portal of entry. But with the work that I do, the better you do, the less you need to come in. Now, if you play tennis at the level at which this lady plays tennis, you may have to come in once a month to get checked. But I have people that come in once every quarter, once every 6 months, because they're doing great and they come in for maintenance care. So depending on, like, the life you've lived and the traumas you've experienced, it depends on the care plan that I offer.
Great, thanks.
I love that. Let me just say something about what she just mentioned, because I was going to bring up the fact that I am a tennis player 3 to 4 times a week. I am 66 and this lady keeps me going. I don't get into pain. I don't have sciatica. I don't get to a place where my body's suffering because I'm going for this maintenance on a monthly basis. One lousy time in the office can keep me going. Playing tennis, I am so happy to see her. Honestly, it's the best thing that I've ever done for my body. It really is. It's not just maintenance, it's preventative. It's keeping your energy flowing. It's keeping your nervous system happy. Your muscles are not struggling. It's really, really, really awesome. I mean, as she is, that's how I am when I tell people about it, because it's really done so much for my body. But I have a question that is not on my list here, and it's come up as I've been listening to you talk, and probably not something that we actually mention a lot of the time, but I wanted to ask you, what about you makes you so good at what you do? My feeling is that your intuitive spidey sense has grown so much. I mean, you know, coming from, I know a little bit about the past that you had to come through, high levels of trauma as a young person, a lot of healing, a lot of working on yourself, you know, on the inner self. And by the way, for our aging and spirituality people that are listening, this is why we're having this conversation. You know, just because we're in the third part of our life doesn't mean we stop growing. And our body is a huge part of staying in touch of who we are. Our, you know, our soul can't express, we can't be who we are without a body that's vital. I mean, vital, you know, so again, your spidey sense, like you just seem to have this sense now that continues to grow, that when somebody walks in the office, it's not like, you know, what they need from your point of view physically, because you got the x-rays, you know what you're doing, you know, you've got so much experience now behind you, but there's also this little gift, big gift behind it that seems to be able to pull all these pieces together in a way that I've never seen anybody else do in your kind of field. What would you say about that?
Well, I appreciate that you noticed that. And it's something that I didn't actually understand that I possessed for a while, right? Like I just was like, I mean, doesn't everybody know what happened to them and think about this and see the picture? And no, it isn't true.
Yeah.
But what I want to say is when you were talking about having a body, this is how I look at it. We are a spirit that
Yeah.
lives in a body that has a soul. And
Right.
our soul is our mind, our will, and our emotion. So our ability to communicate and how we think, right?
Mhm.
And so when people come in, I'm very attuned to the sense of them, the essence of them, their countenance.
Yeah.
And so there's been times when I've seen you and I'm like, what's up? You know, like something's up. What's going on? And it's just this energy. And I can explain it in that I have grown in my ability to be a good listener and be a good observer. And the truth is, I think everybody has the capacity to have this gift, but it's, do you exercise it? Do you
Right.
practice it? Do you
Right.
take the time to settle yourself? Because if you're all up in your head all the time and worried about all these things, you're not going to be able to focus on anything else, right?
Right.
So I think what you talked about earlier with the fact that I have done a lot of healing and I've done a lot of work and I continue to seek and grow and be of service, because the word that came to my heart first was an anointing. And that's just because I believe that I am an instrument of healing. I am not a healer. That's not my job. I just facilitate it. Right.
Right.
And if I can be at the right place at the right time, knowing that I equally have work to do on my own stuff, I think that we're on this journey together and it's kind of like a partnership. So when
Right.
I meet people on the table, I'm grateful that their souls and their spirits have chosen me in that moment to be a facilitator for them. And the more I take a step back and like, what is it going to do for me? Like, the more I take a step back from that and I really truly have the intention of what is this doing for them, the miracles just keep getting bigger and brighter and I can see more.
Wow. 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 Okay. Chris, I know you're waiting on a question, but I got to follow up with this. So as a professional who works a lot of hours, and I know you're a really busy woman and you're traveling. In fact, she's traveling after we get off this conversation. She's always growing. She's always adding to her practice and teaching more people and all of that stuff. But what practices do you put into place to make sure that you're okay, that your self-care is taken care of?
And that is something that I consistently work on because I am a giver and I would probably give myself to death.
Right.
And every morning, I was just talking about this with this patient this morning. Every morning I take a bath for like an hour. I get up really early and I go and turn a hot bath on and I just sit and I either meditate or I listen to music, or this morning I listened to one of my favorite podcasts. And I just really just sit and like let my body feel support and ease into my day. When I don't get to have my baths in the morning, I feel a little irritated, or if I'm traveling and I don't have that quiet time, and I'm an extrovert all day long, but I know that I work better from rest and humans work better from rest. Yeah. So even when I wake up, most people kind of take a bath to relax at the end of the night. I'm relaxing at the beginning of the day so that I have all of the energy and the clear thoughts that I need to have going into the things that I need to face.
Wow.
And I absolutely 1000% love any kind of body work. So acupuncture, chiropractic care, massage. I'm always having my physical body looked at and touched because that helps me keep going.
Yes.
Yeah. So those are two big things that I do. Thankfully, I have an associate, Dr. Walker, who pretty much every day I have her check me. Whether I'm out of alignment or not is another story, but I have her lay her hands on me, and we are designed to be in community and we are designed to be connected. And so the human touch is so healing, even if it's just a hand on the shoulder or a hug. There's so much research that talks about having a 30-second hug and what it does for your nervous system. Yep. So I feel like I get to hug people every day and it's so much fun.
You do? Okay.
Awesome. That's awesome. So what could I expect? Like if the first time a patient comes to your office, I know you mentioned x-rays, but what else could a person expect?
So I think what you can expect is a very thorough, a very comprehensive exam. We pride ourselves in doing probably the best exam you'll ever have. I had the opportunity this weekend to go teach in South Carolina, and I got to share the exam that we do. And I've had email after email and text after text of all these doctors around the country who have taken what I've taught them and started implementing it this week. And they're already getting wild, amazing results and findings that they weren't even looking for before. And their patients are telling them, this is the most thorough exam I've ever had. We were just at the neurologist and they didn't even do any of this stuff. So you'll get a really thorough exam, neurological, comprehensive, orthopedic, and a neurological cranial nerve exam. And then we take our imaging, excuse me. And it depends, like if you need to have more imaging done, like if you come in and your low back is really bad, we'll take some low back pictures too. We typically start with the neck because we understand that as gravity translates through our body, a lot of times the problem starts at the neck. And then the rest of your body is a consequence from that. But we also do a heat scan. So we kind of create a heat signature. Every person has that. And everything we do is measurable, objectable, and we're able to reproduce it. So we do a really thorough consultation. So we understand where you're coming from a trauma perspective, and whether that's physical trauma, emotional trauma, chemical trauma, we want to know where you've been, because literally your body keeps the score. And we want to be able to have clues to be able to ask better questions, because what I found in practice is the better questions I ask, the better results I get. So it's about an hour the first time you come in, and you'll meet Dr. Walker. Typically, they see my associate for the exam and the imaging. And then the first correction I will do, and I will apply the upper cervical adjustment. And then the follow-ups, you can see either me or Dr. Walker, and you get about 10 minutes with us each time you come in. And then we have massage therapy, and we have a PEMF table, pulsed electromagnetic frequency, which is an amazing adjunct supportive tool that we use to help reduce inflammation and help with sleep. So, and we have lots of awesome supplements to help with inflammation. We just have a really well-rounded program.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah. So are you done, Chris?
I'm done.
Okay. So I want to jump in and talk about my favorite subject when it comes to Blair Technique, and that is the retracing issue, because it hardly ever comes up, and I don't see any a lot of stuff on Google about it. I mean, some of the chiropractors like you will have stuff on their websites and stuff, but to me, this is an issue that is not spoken about enough, because let me just say what happened for me. When I first saw Elizabeth, I had all kinds of neck issues, and I had gone to a regular chiro, and he adjusted my neck so hard that the whole left side of my face and neck spasmed. I walked out of that office and I said, that is the last time I ever have one of those adjustments done. I Googled like crazy, chiropractor without, correcting your neck or whatever it was. And I found her. And the minute I saw her, I went, there's my girl. And I went in. It was just instantaneous for me. But I got that initial adjustment. And what I started to learn was that the body, once it is aligned, when the head is on straight, and Dr. Lou is going to tell us about this, how it works. But what happened for me was that I started to experience my body literally healing stuff that had been there for 30 years. When I was 35, I had a heart blockage, and the stent had been put in my heart. The whole right side of my body had not been getting enough blood supply for a very long time. And that first year before I got the stint after my pacemaker, it was probably getting none. And I felt when we did the work with adjusting my neck, I felt my body going through the whole right side, helping the nerves, talking to the muscles, getting blood flow where it hadn't been for a long time. It was incredibly powerful.
Yeah, it is powerful. And that's what's so remarkable about having that one correction that holds. Because traditionally, it's a phenomenon that the developer of chiropractic, his name was B.J. Palmer. He talked about this in his early writings, and he saw, it's a physiological fact that cells hold memory. So if there's cellular memory, and our bodies have the ability to, for example, our immune systems, if you get a cold, you're never going to get the same cold twice, because it's a different virus or a different iteration of it, right? So our immune system has the ability to launch an attack and create like little messengers that said, never again will we be attacked by this, because we have memory and we can fight this off. And so cellular memory happens in the tissue as well. In fact, our fascia, which is like the glove that like holds our muscles together and is kind of in between the skin, that's really where the magic happens. And so I watched this recent really neat documentary on fascia and have experienced when you do fascia work and when you have neurological integrity, which means that the brain messaging is flowing without interruption from the cortex down the spinal cord, out the nerves to the organs into the tissue. When you do the fascia work, there's literally like a remembrance of things that have happened to it. And, you know, I've experienced personally like burns on my legs from when I was a kid, coming to the surface to skin the scar and then going back away, bruises on my body, coming up and then going away. I even had, when I had the babies, I had, you know, one of those IVs in my hand. And one day I looked down and the hand was all green. And I was like, what is this? And it happened to be 9 years after I gave birth to Claire.
Oh my God.
That bruise came up and then it went away. I was like, wow, I always am so fascinated by it, but it's literally the ability for your brain to kind of do a scan of its body and say, hey, this is an old area of injury. I need to address that. I have energy, I have resource, I have capacity, and I'm going to fix this, because it always wants to work towards the best possible environment. We have to live in homeostasis and it wants to be the best at all times. So like you experienced, because we didn't have to manipulate your neck every time you came in, you had stability neurologically and structurally. Your brain said, it's safe. I have the capacity to go work on that. And then you experienced that healing. And what we've been able to see over time is a very cyclical process. And it's no coincidence that every 90 days, your mitochondria produce ATP at a faster rate. So that energy production, which is ATP, from the mitochondria actually drives the healing. So every 90 days, you have a little retracing cycle. And that's why I can predict when you have your first correction, when you'll probably feel that healing. And I can tell you, I don't know exactly what you're going to go through, but I can give some ideas. And every time I'm not wrong. And people are like, she already told me it was going to happen. It did. And then what's remarkable about that is, I mean, think about it. If you came in and I never told you, oh, in 3 weeks, your body's going to be healing and you're going to have this gnarly headache, you'd be like, I thought she fixed me. It's not working. Yes. But if I tell you in advance, 21 days from now, your body's going to experience that break in your toe that happened 6 months ago. Your foot's going to ache and you're going to feel tired. And then it happens. They're like, what kind of voodoo is this? It's not voodoo, it's science. But because I told you in advance, I'm now credible and you trust me. And that's what I want. Yes, I want that trust to be built, because my main objective is to help you live and express your health in the very best way possible.
Wow. And can you think of anything that's more productive in making somebody vital? I mean, I'm not just talking about us as we age. This is the most vitality you can get out of your body, as far as I can see.
Yeah, the nervous system runs the show. So if that's functional, you're going to have a whole lot better outcomes.
Awesome. Yep, no kidding. I have lived that one and I know it to be true. Okay, so any other questions, Chris? What about kids? Were you going to ask about children?
Well, you mentioned babies, so I just assumed you did kids as well. Is that true?
Yeah, I do. I take care of babies. I had the pleasure, believe it or not, I'm a grandma, and I have
She has just became one. That's why
it's so fun. I mean, I just never knew how great it could be, right? Like you give birth to your children and that's incredible. And then they have children and you're like, this is where it's at. So my granddaughter is now 21 months old, but when she was born, my daughter Lauren gave birth at home, and I was blessed to be with her through that process. And Juliet had been born, maybe she was 4 minutes old, and I was able to check her neck and give her first correction. She hadn't even been detached from the umbilical cord yet. Wow. And that little girl is the most vibrant, full of life baby I've ever seen. She's so smart. She talks so well. And I take care of a lot of children. So from the minute you're born until you're 107, I think that's my oldest patient that I've had is 107. I'm able to assess and detect those interferences and help get rid of it. And so whether you're a professional athlete or you're in a wheelchair, I don't have any issue checking and making sure that you're functioning to the best possible potential that you have. And it's really fun to be the family chiropractor, because now that I've been in practice for 15 years, I've been able to kind of watch people grow up, and I get invited to the graduations, I get invited to the weddings, I get invited to the baby showers, and it's neat to see people grow up before you and know that they're doing it in a healthier way. And this is how I think about it. Like when I lay my hands on somebody, I know that I'm making their world better. And when their world's better, they're going to go and affect the environment that they're in. And I like to think that one spine at a time, I'm changing the world for the better, because
That's great.
when you're healthy, you make better decisions. So it's such a cool thing to know that I have an impact for people like right now, but also into the future.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It is awesome. And I want to just say, if you have had a car accident, if you have stuff that's been going on for years and years and years, she can help you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how long it's been hanging out in the body.
It doesn't.
This is absolutely miraculous.
It's really impressive.
come and see her.
I'm very excited about this.
I knew you were going to get excited about it.
I know. And it's simple. It's not a complicated thing. And, you know, one of the things that I like to do is like kind of get the light bulb to turn on and like instill hope, because that's what was given back to me when I had my first correction, was hope that things could be different. And many times people are not given that. And, you know, nothing against medicine. There's a time and a place for every kind of practitioner and every kind of modality. But a lot of times they don't have this answer and they don't know that it's available. So then they just tell people they have to live with it, or, you know, this is just the way that it is. And I just don't believe that. I believe that we have the ability to heal, and we've been given that innate ability. And I want to always operate from that, come from, which is the possibility for you to improve instead of being stuck.
Which is why you were my first choice to do an interview, because I really want to promote what you do. I love what you do. I love you.
I love you
in person.
Like our listeners are going to love you too.
Yes, they absolutely are going to. But
we all have these issues, and so this is a, and, you know, for me it just sounds like an opportunity. You know, it's there are so many doors that close, and people think as they age, doors are closing, but they're not.
They're not be open.
And one of the first jobs that I had a paper route when I was like 12. And I grew up in the Midwest. So, you know, I'm not afraid of hard work, but one of my first jobs that I had where I like went to a place to work I was a dishwasher and a server for a retirement residence. So I have a really special place in my heart for the aging population. And I always just learned so much. There's so much wisdom from people's lives. And just because you are aging doesn't mean you don't have worth, and doesn't mean that you don't have value, and doesn't mean that you don't have anything to offer. That is the farthest thing from the truth. So I love when I get to take care of people that are older than me, that I can learn from and ask questions and then watch them come alive, because, you know, the cane that they thought they were always going to have, or the wheelchair that they thought they were always going to be stuck in, is no more. It's really fun.
Very exciting.
Awesome. Yeah.
Well, that makes me want to ask you about how we can help you. We'll certainly promote this interview, but I wanted to just say, what about your future? What's your vision for where this ultimately is going to grow to for you? What would be your ideal
for me
future? Yep.
Well, as you know, I train students, so I always have interns in the office. In fact, I was just getting a text from one that's coming tomorrow with 2 people to observe. I was like, come down, we're here. We'd love to show you what we're doing. So I will personally, I want to grow well connected to have more than just me or just one associate. I want there to be somebody here 6 days a week,
right? Maybe
even 7, depending. Because right now I'm in a building that doesn't allow me to be open on Sundays, but the meeting that I'm going to right after this is we're going to start looking at some commercial space, because I need to own my own building and expand. And I have a lot more control that way, right? Because right now my parking lot's always busy and it's on the 2nd floor, and it's not a hindrance. We have an elevator, so don't think you can't come. But I want to have more space, and I want to have more doctors, and I want to be a center for training where people know that they can leave chiropractic college, come to a place that's going to train them how to be a business person, how to be a good doctor, how to look at these crazy difficult cases, and really get experience for 1 to 3 to 5 years, and then launch out. And then I want to have well-connected all over the world.
I love that. That's
so kind of a franchise.
That's kind of what I thought, but I've never asked you, so that's really good. That's kind of how I see you going. You know, like you can only do so much your time, but if you train, you know, you can really make it grow, and that's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's
I just from
beautiful vision.
yeah, I do have a vision. And from a biblical perspective, Jesus was one dude, but he trained 12, and those 12 people took it to the world. And I know that the people that I train, like I've got my first intern in New Jersey, and he graduated, and he is literally like a TikTok, Instagram star. And his work that he's doing in New Jersey is referring patients to me on a regular basis.
Oh, good. That's great. Awesome.
Yeah. So wherever your listeners are, there's probably a Blair doctor that I've trained.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Wow. Well, we've covered quite a bit. I don't know. Is there anything else that you want to ask, Chris? Or
no, this is great. I think it's a lot for our listeners to digest.
Yeah,
and,
especially
and Kathy will put in the notes your contact information, because people may have some follow-up questions for you.
Yeah, and they can certainly email, text, call, whatever, any mode of communication that they're comfortable with. I'd love to answer questions. I do a lot of teaching for a lot of organizations. And, every time I teach, I inevitably get emails, and I'm happy to respond. And most importantly, if you don't have a Blair doctor, I would love to be your Blair chiropractor. But if you're not in the Southern California region, I'm sure I can connect you with somebody that's close to you. So I definitely want to let people know that we're available to take care of you. And if we can't physically make it happen, that we will refer you to the best person.
Yeah,
that's great. Thank you. That's very helpful
too. Yeah. At her offices, the gals all work together, and they're one of the best team of
that's so important. So often the staff in a doctor's office is
it's vital.
Right? So that's
and we work hard. Every week we have team meetings, and once a month we do team workshops, and I'm always inviting them to do self improvement training. And we work really hard to create a culture that's inviting and welcoming. And I'm glad, Kathy, that you recognize that, because I could not do this by myself. I could not have many people. And I think you were there last Wednesday, and I didn't have any staff because there was a multitude of different issues that popped up. And I was like, I don't like doing this by myself.
You definitely need a team to support you. You definitely deserve it. I want to thank you so much for coming and talking to us today. I love what you do. I want more people to know about it. I'm sure Chris will be checking into it very soon.
I can't wait.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much for this. Really,
Thank you, listeners.
Hey, I want to commend you girls. For doing this podcast.
Okay.
How awesome is it that you guys are we need to address this stuff, spirituality and aging. We need to talk about this. I am so proud of you guys for getting together and making content for people that is meaningful and has an impact. So I'm really proud of you. And I love that I got to be your first guest. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're going down in history. Well,
you're definitely in our history. So
Chris and I have been studying yoga for over 40 years now together. She was my first
unbelievable
yoga, and we have been just fast friends, mentors, sisters, all that stuff, so when we hit this stage, it was just very normal to talk about yoga. This is how we apply yoga to our lives, just like you would with your faith. This is how we apply it to our lives, so we can be like our tagline is embracing your highest unrealized life. For those people that are getting complacent or think that their dreams and visions don't matter, we have news for you. They really matter.
It's just starting.
It's just a start. You have all this wisdom and all this experience. Look at this cutie patootie. She's so young and she's got so much to offer.
Right.
Listeners, you have that too, and we want to talk to you. So keep coming.
Absolutely.
Back. Keep coming back. We love you.
We love you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you again. Bye.
See you later.
Bye.